What's going on, guys? Welcome back. So Nvidia just came out with their Q4 earnings report, and now this earnings report, they just barely beat, but this was the earnings report that they had lower guidance twice in. And in my opinion, this is kind of just foreshadowing what's going to be happening to the entire semi space over the next year or so. And it's something that I've been talking about for months and months now here on this channel. And it's just the thing that I really want everybody that's invested in the semi space to really wake up to. Obviously, you guys know I'm still very bullish on the semi space, but with what Nvidia just came out and said, and it kind of reaffirmed everything that we've been hearing from all the other major semiconductor manufacturers. Now, there were a lot of things that are just Nvidia specific with how the company is kind of fumbling on a couple of major driving points that the company really needs to focus on and really turn around before they expect to really start, growing their stock price again. But I do think that the overarching issues that Nvidia is facing are going to be faced by pretty much the entirety of the semiconductor space. And it's something that, I'm going to be touching upon after I do my quick analysis on Nvidia's earnings reports. I'm going to be talking about how all of the other semiconductor stocks, in my opinion, are going to be affected because of this, how they've been, trading, and what the sentiment has been over the past couple of weeks. And then, my overall takeaway on whether I am buying X or selling X. And just kind of going through that of the main semiconductor stocks that I cover here on this channel. So if you guys are interested in that, make sure to stick around, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit that bell notification. And without further ado, let's get into the video. So if you just looked at the headlines after Nvidia came out with their earnings report, everybody was talking about how they beat EPS and they beat on revenue. However, these beats were pretty lackluster in my opinion, and these beats were also the numbers that were given after 2 downgrades from Nvidia themselves on their overall Q4 guidance. So the fact that they kind of came roughly in line with these numbers does not really make me thrilled as an investor or anybody that's looking into Nvidia to, say, purchase. So it is definitely something to keep in mind, and it kind of only shows the fact that Nvidia has, had numerous negative headwinds circling around it over the past couple of quarters, and compared to what the company is actually producing, what the company is saying they're going to be producing, over the next year or so up through 2020, it doesn't seem like it's going to be getting that much better, at least for the short term. Now, obviously, if you are, bullish on the space over the long period of time, like I am, you kind of take this with a grain of salt and you kind of understand, like, okay, growth is slowing, things like that. China is having a lot of issues right now, and that's affecting all these companies heavily. However, it is definitely something to keep in mind, especially if you were someone that bought during the initial dip of Nvidia and you were expecting the stock price to rebound up to $300 within a year's period of time. These numbers just kind of reaffirm the fact that that is probably not going to happen. And, if you plan on, say, getting that $300 Nvidia price tag, you're going to be holding the stock for quite a while. And, so if you went full lump sum, at like 230, and you're expecting it to go up to 300, I would definitely reconsider the probability of that actually happening. That being said, the company is kind of doing their own to stay afloat. They do kind of reference that China again is being a thorn in their side. You can also tell the fact that when the RTX series came out, no one was really that thrilled about it. Ray tracing technology that came in with it, it did open them up to the special effects market. However, they haven't really been able to capitalize on that, and they also haven't really been able to capitalize on any profound benefits in games, because as I've talked about here on this channel before, that the game titles that are able to utilize ray tracing, it's only a marginal increase, and they have a significant FPS droppage during that. So it's realistically unheard of for people to legitimately want to play a game using ray tracing compared to using a 1080 or a 1080 Ti or just using an AMD graphics card. So there's really no need for people to really rush out and buy these GPUs. So the only reason why they would have been selling a lot of units was because of servers. But as we've known, and I've been talking about it time and time again, and you guys know that I've been kind of saying the same things over and over again because they just haven't been changing. It's that server growth is slowed, and it's going to continue to slow until some monumental shift happens. And, that trend I don't see really changing, for a minimum of a year out. Could possibly be, beginning of 2020, who knows. But, a lot of the semiconductor stocks were thinking that, okay, midway through 2019, it should probably start to revert. And they all seem pretty pessimistic about it right now, so I wouldn't really count on that. Going through it, their sales were just extremely disappointing. They're down 45% year over year in their gaming division. in their data center revenue. They were down 14% year over year. And that just goes to show you that once growth really starts to slow down, this is what happens to semiconductor stocks. Semiconductor stocks, it's kind of plain to see whether you look at their stock price, their earnings, whatever metric you want to look at. Semiconductor stocks do amazingly well if the economy is booming and the economy is going in the positive direction. But the second the economy starts to stagnate or go negative, these stocks are going to lose a significant amount of money. And that's why when people talked about, like, okay, with Micron or with Nvidia, like, okay, you could cut their revenue in half, and their PE ratio is only going to be, in Micron's case, it was at a 5. Oh my God, I'm going to have someone that has a PE of a 10. That doesn't really matter. No, the fact that earnings is going to go down to like a negative number, very probable, is something that you definitely need to keep in mind when you're investing in a semiconductor stock, especially if you're investing in one through a down market. So that's just something I kind of wanted to point out again. Obviously, they still have a lot of issues with crypto. Like, their inventory levels definitely haven't been improving as quickly as they wanted it to be doing. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that they're still kind of in a hangover effect from the cryptocurrency. Now, their management did say that they kind of expect the worst of the crypto effects to really have been taking place now. And they think that, at least in the crypto regard, they have kind of bottomed out from that disappointment aspect. I personally, I'm still kind of on the fence about that. I'm still waiting to kind of see, the actual revert back to the mean of what they were doing prior to crypto. But again, that's just kind of a who knows what's going to be happening with the type of GPUs that they've been coming out with. Obviously, there isn't that much of a demand for those cards. So I'm still relatively skeptical on it. And, there's not really much to say other than the fact that, Nvidia is going through a market slowdown, and it was one of the biggest high flyers in the past 10 years. So this is just kind of what happens when you invest in these growth names. It's not to say that, okay, this was a poor investment. It's just something that you have to take in consideration when you go for growth companies. You have to accept the fact that the reason why these companies are outperforming everything is because of the increased risk that once things start to slow down, they start to plummet down to earth. So that's just something you really have to pay attention to with your investment strategy. Like, how much money and capital are you allocating to these? And then what is your strategy when, it starts to revert and it no longer grows at the way it's been going? Taking that in mind, what are the other semiconductor companies talking about? So you have analysts coming out recently with Micron talking about how, okay, we see a, kind of the end of the falling NAND and DRAM prices, and they think that demand is going to kind of revert within a year. I personally do not really see that happening, and I'm kind of puzzled as to why they would see that happening, since the majority of their RAM is sold to data centers, and with every other semiconductor company coming out saying that there's not really massive data center growth over the next year to two. I'm really confused with what numbers they're basing this off of. I personally just do not see anything based off of all the other companies I'm looking at. So this is something, and I've kind of touched upon it here and there, is that once you if you aggressively bought Micron when it hit book value and slightly below book value, you're already up about 50% on those shares. Realistically, in something, in my opinion, that doesn't make any sense. Now, Manish Pabrai did start a position in Micron a couple of months ago, and I'll kind of touch upon that if I do a Micron update in the next couple of weeks. But personally, I think that this last kind of major run-up with Micron doesn't really have any justification. There's really no legs on it. A lot of people are just kind of, buying into the stock because they think the worst is behind them. While that may be the case, I definitely do not see, massive data center growth in the next quarter or two, say, for Micron. So I'm relatively, pessimistic on what's going to be happening to Micron after the next earnings report. So that's something we definitely have to keep in mind. Intel also talked about how, they're not expecting amazing performance over the next 12 to 24 months. They expect, yes, long term, we think autonomous vehicles, data centers, and everything like that are going to provide a lot of growth for their whole portfolio, and they think there's going to be a lot of revenue, compounding over those years. But it's in a slowdown between China and between the fact that everybody is now decongesting everything that was just bought and rampantly built up over the past couple of years. It's just they're only expecting a 1% revenue increase, while AMD is expecting about a 7% revenue increase, as opposed to like the 23 to 29 that they were getting in the past couple of years. And, it's weird with how these stocks are reacting. I don't fully get it. I have been someone that's followed this space for, a couple of years now. I normally understood why stock prices were moving the way that they were, or at least I thought I did. And now, these stock prices are seeming to rebound on pessimistic news. The volume isn't really there, so I don't know if it's just retail traders. But you know, these things are just, you know, getting to inflated levels based off of slower growth, and you know, they're going back to the levels that they had, assuming growth was going to continue on, you know, amazingly. So I'm really concerned with what's been going on, you know, with all these stock prices, because you can see like this is exactly what happens at the second that like people face the music, and you have a company that's, you know, a high fast grower like Nvidia, you know, you have your stock price get cut in half in just a couple of months. And that's something I'm afraid of what's going to be happening with people. You know, like, say you look at Micron. Micron got cut down, you know, about in half, and now it's up 50% or give or take off of its, you know, book value. So I don't really know what people are expecting from these companies. Now, yes, obviously buying a company like Micron at book value was probably the safest way to play, buying a company like Micron. But the immediate run-up just a couple of months later, I just do not get it. So I kind of wanted to just, you know, talk about that. And, you know, you guys have still been talking about these companies for a long period of time, and I just do not get what the market's pricing in right now. I just don't see where that growth is going to be coming from. I don't see how these companies are going to immediately change back to being the high flyers that they were, unless something significantly changes with, say, China, or, you know, they start making products that people actually want. Will AMD's, you know, graphics card line kind of be that, you know, budget card that actually has that performance that people want? Possibly. You know, right now I'm actually kind of betting on, you know, Nvidia does make a better card, but they made a better card that was double the price of an already expensive card. So I'm not really sure why they thought that people would be rushing out to buy that. So maybe AMD can do that, but for right now, I don't know. I don't know what they're doing, and I don't know what people are expecting them to be doing, you know, based off of the stock price. So just giving another quick rundown of the portfolio, nothing's really changed. I did buy some more Altria, you know, on the 5th. That's about it. You know, my portfolio change since inception is up 4.7%, which is nice. And comparing that to the growth index, I'm up about 8%. So this is just a quick thing. You guys can pause the video here and take a look at, you know, how my portfolio has been doing. That's about it. I haven't really done much. Oh, and I did close my Pepsi position when I bought Altria. That was about it. Nothing's really going on here. I'm not trying to frequently trade this account. But that was it. Just giving a quick update to what's going on in the semi space. You know, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. You know, I mainly put out these videos to kind of just throw out my thoughts out there. And, you know, the majority of the stuff after the fact and really the in-depth stuff happens down in the comment section down below, because there are just so many different topics that we can go over and focus on with these companies. You know, it's definitely a lot easier for you guys to post a comment about like a specific industry that they're going to be affecting in, or a specific line that's going to be coming out that might do X, Y, and Z for the company. So if you guys have any things you want to talk about relating to semiconductor stocks, make sure to drop it down in the comment section down below. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Hope you got some use out of this. Peace.